I thought buying luxury was meant to feel good, says Janice. She's one of the people who watches the newsletter. So why does it sometimes feel like a test that you can fail? I can afford nice things, but I always second guess if they're the right nice things. Why do I end up feeling judged by my own social circle, the ones who supposedly made it? Isn't that the whole point of success, to stop caring about what other people think? So, prestige anxiety, Helen, that's what this is. Yeah, even if the term hasn't quite made it into the therapist's office yet, but, it's, you know what it is? It's that very quiet but very real panic of a wealthy client. Because you think that affluent buys certainty, but it often buys the complete opposite of that. It's an endless calibration exercise, isn't it? In taste and manners and whether your cashmere blend is too obvious.
It's fascinating though, isn't it? Because how success doesn't actually erase insecurity, it just kind of changes how it's presented. I see this all the time in therapy, people who've kind of climbed... Yeah, absolutely. Because they've climbed their way kind of into what they thought was safety through money, and all they find is a whole new set of rules just waiting for them. And it's really interesting because it's never really about the handbags or the houses. It's about a belonging, and about wondering if you've earned your place, or if someone's going to tap you on the shoulder and tell you, you're not quite the right sort,
Yeah, you're not quite up to snuff. Exactly. Because the thing is that luxury isn't just about the purchase. In many cases, it's actually a performance, isn't it? Every act of consumption carries social subtext, which is called signaling. And believe it or not, that wasn't a phrase that a psychologist came up with. No, it was an economist, actually, called Michael Spence. But what most people miss is that these signals only work if someone else is decoding them.
Yes.
So, the anxiety starts to arise because luxury lives in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah.
You're never actually entirely sure that you've signaled correctly.
Which, oh God, if you think about it, that's actually exhausting because you can't...
Completely.
Totally. You can't buy security in identity, only in stuff. And stuff never quite delivers, does it?
No, it doesn't, because it's rather like musical chairs, only with handbags, isn't it? Everyone's terrified that the music's going to stop and they're going to be left holding Gucci, when the group has moved on to Lorna. Lorna, by the way, is the Queen's handbag people.
Well, can you imagine?
Who are actually much cheaper than,
Yes,
Birkins
they
and
are.
Gucci and Prada and Chanel, and far better quality as well. But anyway,
Much
that's an
better.
aside.
We give this is not sponsored by them.
No, it's not sponsored
Could be
by
if it
them.
wanted to be, maybe, but no, it's not. But that fear, that thing of being fearful of being the one holding the Gucci when everybody else has moved on, it becomes the whole engine of the whole thing, doesn't it? You're not really buying pleasure. You're mostly buying protection from judgment or exclusion or irrelevance. It's exhausting.
And I think that's the uncomfortable truth of it, really. Luxury brands, quite cleverly, don't just sell aspiration anymore. They sell reassurance. They whisper, you belong here. The thing is, when that whisper fades, then another purchase is needed to bring that whisper back.
Do you know, it's the same kind of mechanism that drives a lot of addiction. Not in the kind of chemical sense, but emotionally, that kind of hit of validation, the dopamine of then being seen with the right things and being accepted. And then you get the come down when it wears off, when you need that whisper, when you get the whisper.
You'd have a field day treating the luxury industry if it was a client. Lots of low self-esteem, lots of high-functioning dependence, and, an external validation loop.
Completely. But I might bring the entire luxury industry down. So I don't know if that's
okay.
a good thing.
No, that's not a good thing.
No. Okay, fine. But do you know what's really interesting? Underneath all of that, there's often grief, because grief for kind of... simplicity, for authenticity. You can hear it in her statement. for that time kind of when something new could just be exciting rather than strategic. It's sad really.
I mean, that's actually a rather lovely way to put it. We do underestimate how much emotional labour goes into maintaining status. That's for sure. We definitely do. Because it's not just about keeping up with the Joneses anymore. It's actually about out-elegancing, is that even a word? The other Joneses.
It is now.
Whilst also pretending not to care.
Oh my God. And the pretending not to care is the key, right? Because it's like emotional haute couture, sort of carefully tailored detachment. So, hard.
Though I think I'd probably argue that, somewhat anyway, that the fear isn't just social. It's also existential, as well in some cases. Because if luxury has become the proof of your worth, then the wrong choice threatens the entire self-concept, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's not about a handbag anymore. It's about identity disintegration at the till when you're in Harrods.
Well, I can see that. Which is, I mean, I suppose that's why some of the most sort of successful people are the most anxious people, because they've built a self that needs kind of constant polishing. And the fear isn't really losing the money, it's losing meaning from that identity.
This is true. And the brands are happy to help with that maintenance, of course. Luxury thrives on the sense of inadequacy. If you're too secure and you stop buying, then that's a problem. Now, if you're too insecure, then you start buying frantically. So it's a delicate equilibrium, and one that the industry guards very strongly, like a trade secret.
I bet they blooming do, for sure. Because I think it's sometimes like, I think of it like emotional inflation. The more you have, the more you need just to feel the same. And what used to be a treat becomes kind of the baseline, but then the baseline feels empty. Right.
Oh, well, that's hedonic adaptation, isn't it, in psychological terms? So the human brain's marvellous knack for normalising pleasure until actually only novelty now starts to feel rewarding, which, of course, conveniently keeps tills ringing, doesn't it?
I guess. So the cure then, if we could call it that, isn't to stop buying, maybe, but to stop outsourcing our self-worth to what we buy. Right, because that's going to be easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, it is, of course, indeed. I suppose one could argue that the real luxury is psychological independence, the ability to enjoy without comparison, and, also equally to consume without concession.
Do you know, I love that. It's when you can kind of walk into Chanel and not need Chanel to walk out with you. Right,
exactly that, But, for most, luxury remains a social mirror, doesn't it?
Yes.
The anxiety creeps in when the reflection that you're looking at starts to distort.
Right, which brings us back then to the beginning, doesn't it? Because that feeling of being judged, of kind of never getting it right, or, just not fitting in, it's not a failure of taste. It's the side effect of a culture that's kind of turned identity into a brand exercise, almost, I suppose. Maybe?
Yeah. And the paradox is that luxury, which should symbolise ease, ends up breeding tension. So the calm surface conceals frantic self-surveillance, like swans, almost.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Swans. That is it, though, isn't it? Because it's all grace on top, and then blind panic underneath. Blind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think the real trick, perhaps, is learning to stop paddling. Just let the water carry you. Though, of course, that's much harder when you're paddling in the lake of aspiration.
Ooh, I like that. That's perfect. The lake of aspiration. Shallow, but endlessly reflective. perhaps.
And very good for business.
Well,
Very good for business.